All right. Okay, so today we're going to talk about 10 steps to planning a 14er. Um, and it always seems to freeze my first couple seconds here, so just bear with me. There we go. Okay, cool. All right, so Charlene, how are you doing with training hikes? So you didn't hike this week, right? But
Yeah, other than not being able to hike this week, it's been going very well.
awesome. How do you feel?
Feel good.
Good, good. New backpack and everything, so
Yeah,
solid.
yep. Yeah,
Okay.
gradually adding on to my little supplies list.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, and do you plan to go on Saturday?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, we'll talk about weather here in a second. The weather doesn't look amazing
Yeah, I
this
saw
weekend. Yeah, so I'll be talking a lot about that this time around. And then the 14er hike is the 15th, so just a reminder there. Okay, cool. So I actually added an 11th step to planning for 14ers, but this is the 10 steps that I use. A lot of people have different methods. This has worked for me really well. So I'm going to go through each one of these 10 steps in pretty good detail. And then you can, pick and choose what you want to use later on down the line. But if you start with this list and, go through it in pretty meticulous detail, the first couple times that you plan for a 14er or any mountain by yourself, you'll be in pretty good shape. So the ones highlighted in red, I think, are actually the most important ones. So the first two steps, knowing your comfort zone and estimating your hiking time, is super important. And then you got to pick your 14ers and schedule it, obviously. And then you got to get the right map and guidebook, pick your route, research the weather, and have a backup plan. Find the trailheads and map the drive. Pick your start time and turnaround time, and we'll get into a lot of that and how we're going to hike on Saturday and everything too. Pick your gear, your food, and what you're going to be drinking, and then pick your partners. And then just remember that I'm always here to ask any questions. So if you have any questions after this on how to plan or how to use any of these weather tools, I can definitely help with that. So, all right, so cool. So now you've gone on some training hikes. This is step one. It's knowing your current comfort zone. So this is really the first step in understanding what you want to hike. So take a self-assessment. How have your training hikes gone? How many miles can you handle? How much vertical feet can you handle? So if you were really doing really well with all the training hikes so far, I think the longest one has been well, I don't think you've done Ptarmigan Peak yet, but that's 11 miles or so. But if you feel good on the training hike so far, you can handle the vertical mileage, the vertical feet, the mileage. If you're doing well at elevation, you'll be in pretty good shape. And then self-assessment, how are you doing with heights and exposure? And then how are you doing with loose rock, like Bear Peak, for example, where there's loose and exposed rock up top? And then what class are you comfortable with? So you have to really take a self-assessment and ask all these questions before you can move on to really picking the 14er that you want to do to start off with. All right, let's see. And it looks like Sherry, you just joined?
I did.
How are you?
Doing okay. How are you?
Not too bad. We were just talking about training hikes and everything. How are you doing with everything?
I'm not doing. I still can't do them. I went out to the Flatirons to climb, and the hike was not good. And then I was out at Estes to climb, of course, and the hike was just. It's not going well.
No, it's a bummer.
Yeah, so I don't think I will be joining you Saturday.
Okay, that's too bad. Keep at it. I mean, yeah, you don't want to push yourself too hard, right? I
did them one day after the other, and I just couldn't breathe.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Well, take it easy. Yeah, I'm just going through the 10 steps of planning. So I'm on step 2 now, and this is kind of a self-assessment still. You know, so based on, you know, the hiking that you've done so far and the people that you've hiked with or people that have been on the trail, you know, self-assessment, are you slower than most people? Or are you average? Or are you a fast hiker? And the reason why you have to kind of think about that is, you know, the average hiker moves at around 1.5 miles per hour at elevation, so over 11,000 feet. It's not like you're, you know, at sea level where you can probably move, you know, 4 or 5 miles an hour on some of the trails. Once you get above elevation, your pace really drops. So I would, you know, when you're estimating time to average for a hike, it's always a good rule of thumb to be about 1.5 miles per hour. That's about the average hiker. And then if there's any sort of like snow or climbing conditions or scrambling conditions, your pace is even going to drop further from, you know, 0.5 mile an hour to 1 mile an hour. So you can kind of, you know, we'll get to the spreadsheet in a second, but you can see how many miles total, and you can do a self-assessment, and you can pretty much estimate how long hikes are going to take for the most part. And then if you're a faster hiker, at elevation, you're going to be moving anywhere from 2 to 4 miles an hour. 4 miles an hour is really, really fast. And just to give you kind of a gauge on that, so Long's Peak, which is a 14er, is 15 miles round trip with 5,000 vertical feet. It's got a bunch of scrambling at the end, and it normally takes people anywhere from 10 to 12 hours to climb that mountain round trip. So, you know, it's slow. Everything is very slow in the mountains. And then obviously, you know, you have to look at the spreadsheet, know your mileage and vertical feet for your 14er, and then estimate your current hiking time. So that's step 2. Okay, so step 3 is after you know your comfort zone from the training hikes that you've done and everything else that you've done, you want to pick out your first couple 14ers to do. And just as a hint, our 14er that we're going to be doing on the 15th is Quandary Peak. So I don't think anybody's done that. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, cool. Charlene, have you've never done that either?
No, I haven't.
Okay, cool. All right. So Quandary Peak I have is ranked as the easiest 14er just because of the mileage and the vertical elevation and things like that. So but you know, if you're kind of going off on your own, you know, use the spreadsheet, use what your evaluation is, and pick out the first couple 14ers. So Quandary Peak, and then this is just again a reminder of the easiest 14ers that are out there. So Quandary, Bierstadt, Democrat, Handies, and Huron. Those are the easiest ones. And Jennifer, did you get a chance to download that spreadsheet by chance?
Not yet, but
okay.
I will.
All right.
I'm good
Cool.
tonight. Got off the phone.
No problem. No problem.
I love that spreadsheet.
Good. Good. Okay. I'm glad you like it. And I've actually updated it again, so there should be a newer version in the members area. It hasn't changed that drastically though, so no big deal if you haven't. Okay, cool. Now, another important part, step 3, make sure you schedule it. So, and this gives you some like accountability. Yeah. So,
Does that
you know,
mean you didn't schedule something one time? That's the only reason why that slide came up.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it just, you know, if you write it down, if you put it in your Outlook calendar, Google Calendar, whatever, you know, it makes you want to actually do it, right? So, you know, we have a meetup invite. If you're interested in hiking with other people, just shoot me a message, and you can, you know, put your own hike together eventually if you want to. You can do a Facebook event on our Front Range Explorers page, and then what I always do is just mark it down, a calendar on the wall, so my wife knows when I'm going to be out or whatever. So, so make sure you schedule it. That's important.
Oh, you were sleeping on the couch one night. I got
Yeah,
it.
that's right. That's right. All right, cool. Okay, so step 4, after you pick your 14er that you want to start with, or a couple of 14ers that you want to start with, you have the spreadsheet, which is great. But what's really important, if you haven't gotten these yet, you know, make sure you do pick up the Colorado 14ers book. This book is absolutely amazing. And then depending on what mountain you're in, so you take a look at the book first, and I'll go through this in a second, and then you pick the Trails Illustrated map that you have as well. So you'll have these 2 resources to help you plan the hike. Okay, so make sure you pick this up. It's cheapest on Amazon that I've seen, or you can pick it up at like REI or whatever. And then these Trails Illustrated maps are pretty awesome. So I have the Breckenridge, Tennessee Pass map up here because that is where Quandary is. So you'll have enough time to pick those up if you like. I'll obviously have them with us too, but with me too. But okay, cool. So this is the 14ers book as you open it up. And when you first get this book, it's very overwhelming because it has so many different routes on it and so many different pages. I don't know if anybody has actually looked through this book yet in detail.
I have.
I tried.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And I can, when we meet up in person, I can show you a little bit more. I could literally spend like probably an hour talking about going through the book in detail. I've studied the book like back and forth, basically. I know a lot of the routes on there and I've climbed a lot of the routes on there. So it's easy for me to kind of look around through it, but if you're just starting out, it can be very, very overwhelming. So basically what you do is after you pick your 14er that you do based on the spreadsheet, and I recommend that you start with a spreadsheet first because it gives you the difficulty, and then go in the book and actually find the peak. So Quandary Peak, okay? This is the actual picture from the book, okay? And then it's got all these different routes on there. And you want to look through and you want to find whatever route you're comfortable doing. And in our case, we're going to be doing the easiest one, which is the east slopes. Okay, so this has a really good description of it, and you got a really good picture of the map. So what I do is I open the book up and I take a picture of the map and I take a picture of the route, and I have them in my phone. Okay, and so I can always, you know, reference my phone during the hike. Now, if my phone dies, which sometimes has happened before, you always have the map. So this is the Trails Illustrated map. Okay, and so I just took some pictures of it real quick just to kind of put on here. But not all the 14ers will have an actual trail, but Quandary does because it's such a well-marked trail. So this has the actual trail of it, and it's got a legend with all of the stuff here. So as you look at this map, you know, it's got, well, I forgot to include the parking lot, but the parking lot's over here, and then it's got the trail up here, and it's got like a whole bunch of mine features. It's got a road next to it, and as you can see, there's no like, you know, rivers or ponds kind of running through, so that gives you some good information. But the point is to study both the book and the map before you go out and do a 14er. Does anybody have any questions on the book so far, or?
Where were you picking up the National Geographic trailhead map? Just on Amazon also?
Yeah, Amazon has them. Also, like REI has them as well, I think.
Okay.
I like ordering from Amazon just because it's so easy and it's cheaper. But,
okay,
you know, if you're out and about, yeah. Yep. And also the book, I should mention, the book also has reference to some of these maps too. So.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. All right. Okay, cool. So this is just a closer look at the route. And we went through this slide should look familiar. We went through this last time. So basically, this is the route that we're picking here to start. So we're going to be doing Quandary Peak, the standard route, 5.6 miles round trip, about 3,300 feet elevation gain on Saturday the 15th. And it's class 1, and 85% of the people at least will be going up this route. So it should be somewhat busy, although we're going to get there early. So anyway, so this is just another look at this detailed map, and you can see that there's other routes on here, and each one of these routes is described in the book. So when you have some time, when you pick up the book, read through all the descriptions in for all the routes, just so you can kind of get a flavor for what that is. But all right, cool. And then, okay, so now we're moving into weather. Okay, so we know what 14er we're doing, we know what route we're doing, or at least we're going to try for. So now we want to ask the best, you know, basic question, you know, how is the weather looking? Okay, so, and the first question I always ask is, will it snow? Obviously it's July, so it's probably not going to snow, but when you're in March timeframe, when you're in April timeframe, you know, even June, you can see, you know, there's a chance for snow. So what I always do first is open up opensnow.com. It's a really good app, and it's actually used a lot for skiing. and it forecasts out the weather really well. So Breckenridge, for example, this is Breckenridge Ski Resort, and it's very close to Quandary Peak, and you can see that's going to be bone dry in terms of snow. So there won't be any snow on the route. There shouldn't really be any ice on the route so far. And then I look at snowpack, and unfortunately, this is I looked today, and it's actually there's no data showing, but I'm going to check it again later. But basically, if you go to avalancestate.colorado, in these links, which I can post, which I'll have on the members area, this will basically give you the actual snowpack. So there's no snow right now in Quandary Peak, so we're not going to worry about it. But again, in April and in May timeframe, this is a really good map, interactive map that shows the percentages of snow and also avalanche conditions. So this is just.
To let you know, I mean, there wasn't any snow on the ground, but there was a very brief and light snow on Mount Evans this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So you got a dusting?
Yeah.
All right, still snowing then. Yeah. Yep.
Can you go
cool.
back one to get that website again? Opensnow.com. Stick. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. And the guy who runs this is from Colorado. His name is Joel Grotz, professional skier, really good guy, really cool website. So, yep. Cool. All right, and then so that's snow and snowpack and things like that. There's definitely a potential, I guess, to get a dusting of snow when we're actually hiking the 14er. But this is the first weather app that I use when I'm not looking at snow. So it's just a basic iPhone app. So basically what I do is I load all these different areas of Colorado onto my phone. Okay, so Breckenridge, for example, Estes Park, Cannon City, Telluride. On Monday, for example, I take a look at my phone and I kind of swipe through each area and I see what has the most or least amount of precipitation coming in the area, and then that helps me plan kind of high level where I want to go. But for instance, Breckenridge looks great today, but chance of rain, basically every day until Friday. But this only gives you kind of a high level look. So I don't use this for like a go, no go type decision on whether I hike. I just use this for like a basic high overview of what area I want to choose. But since we're going to go to Quandary Peak, I picked Breckenridge this time around. Okay. Then, and the reason why I'm not opening these right now is because they take a long time to load. So like Weather Underground takes a long time to load, so I just took screenshots. Okay, so we know what area we're going to hike in. We know what peak we're going to do. And so for now, I want to look at a daily forecast and also an hourly forecast for the exact area that I'm in. Okay, so this top here is a 10-day weather forecast. Okay, so for instance, our hike on Saturday, if we were doing Quandary at the time, looks to be not that great for weather. And unfortunately, it looks like this all over the state. So it's just fairly bad timing. But basically what you can see is like, if you had a completely flexible schedule, today would be the day to go out and climb a 14er basically. But all the other times, and this isn't uncommon, like you're going to see this a lot in summer where you have chances of thunderstorms in the afternoon. Okay, so kind of take a look at daily rain, and then you go down to the actual hourly. So this is Saturday the 8th, and you can see 3 a.m., 6 a.m., 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m. And unfortunately, there is about a 30-35% chance of rain at 9 a.m., which is a little uncommon. Typically, you're seeing that at noon, but at noon it jumps up to over 50%. So that kind of gives you some information. So if you were hell-bent on climbing Quandary Peak, you have a weather window of 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. basically to climb in relative safety. After that, you're risking kind of being caught in a thunderstorm. And just keep in mind that this weather, like each mountain range has a different weather system. So it could be completely, this could be the forecast on Friday, and on Saturday morning it could change completely. But at least this will give you the knowledge to, make some educated decisions. And if you notice, if you look at the weather channels, they're never correct on weather, especially in like the Denver area. They predict 8 inches of snow and it'll be a dusting or something like that. So very, very hard to predict weather in Colorado, but these are the best tools so far that I found to do that. So, okay, cool. All right, and then the next thing you want to look at is how far is the drive to the actual trailhead. And so if you have the 14er spreadsheet, you're going to see a tab on there for, or just a placeholder for trailheads, and those are interactive links. So if you click on the Quandary trailhead, it's going to bring you to Google Maps. Okay, so you always want to know how far your drive is to the trailhead. Okay, so you know, Google Maps is, I think, the best software to use, and it's got an iPhone app and everything. So click on that and, you know, see how long it actually takes you to get there. So in this case, it's going to take 1 hour and 45 minutes to get to Quandary Peak from the center of Denver. So make sure you understand how long it's going to take to get to the trailhead. And then another really good app is the ColoradoTrip.org. So this gives you road conditions, closures, and everything statewide. So it's got pictures, it's got like real-time pictures of traffic, it's got road closures, as you can see kind of right here, and it's got, you know, if it's bad forecast, it'll show that as well, or if there's construction, which is big. So this is another really good thing that I look at the day before. And it's also got like accidents on there too. So between Google Maps and this feature, you should be able to tell pretty quickly if you can get to a trailhead or not. So, all right. So this is, I think, you know, taking all that information together, this step is hugely important. So you want to figure out your start time and turnaround time based on all the data that you have gained from all the weather apps, from your comfort zone, from everything. So this slide kind of ties it all together. Okay. So for Quandary Peak, for example, like I said, it's 5.6 miles round trip, 3,300 feet elevation gain, class 1. Okay, so your total hiking time, depending on how fast you're going, and you have to truth this out a little bit, might be 4 to 6 hours round trip, which I think is pretty fair. So it may take you 3 to 4 hours to get to the summit, and from the summit, it might take you 1 to 2 hours to get below tree line, which again is 11,500 feet or so. And remember, that number is super important because you're in relative safety once you get below tree line. And when you're above tree line, you know, that's where you're the highest point, and lightning can definitely get you. And then based on the data, the drive looks clear. Now, unfortunately, there's a 35 to 45% chance of showers by 9 a.m. So that means with a hiking time of 3 to 4 hours to the summit, that means you would want to start hiking around 5 a.m. And if you were driving that same day, you might want to leave around 3 a.m. Okay, again, this is if you're hell-bent on climbing the peak, okay, which sometimes I am, so I would actually do that. And then if you're not wanting to drive at 3 a.m., you know, consider camping out the night before. So basically, all this data shows that, wow, there's a pretty good chance of rain by 9. Like, we need to get up to the summit really quick. So if it was a clear day, you know, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. might be okay start time. All you have to deal with crowds. So, but based on the weather, 5 a.m. is the appropriate starting hiking time. And then the really important part here is, like, because of the storms at 9 a.m., you know, your target turnaround time should be 9 a.m. if you're not at the summit. So that's kind of a critical data point. And then obviously, you know, conditions change. So if it's, you know, still a bluebird day at 9 a.m. and, you know, you're at your turnaround time, but it's still bluebird, and you're thinking that you can still go up, you know, you can probably do that as long as you can see the full horizon of the sky. That's basically how you put all of the information together. Are there any questions on, like, collecting the data or additional steps that I might have forgotten or anything? Clarifications?
Nope, good.
Okay, cool. All right, okay, so gear needs. So this is like after you plan everything, you need to, you know, plan your gear. Again, class 1 hike up, standard hiking trail conditions are summer, minimal chance of snow and ice, minimal scree, minimal talus. Biggest hazards are electrical storms and, just falling in general. So the gear that you need, you don't need an ice axe, obviously. You don't need any crampons. You don't need a helmet. So none of that type of safety stuff that we talked about before. But it is going to be cold. It is going to be potential rain. So you definitely need layered clothing. You need a light hat, 2 pairs of gloves, rain and wind jacket for sure, 20 to 30 liter backpack, hiking shoes or boots, survival kit. So anything can happen. So you want to make sure you have enough to stay the night. Water bladder, 2 to 3 liters of water, your food, your trekking poles, and I always just bring microspikes just in case. You could leave them at the car. You could not. I don't think I seriously doubt we'll need them, but it doesn't hurt to bring them with you. So that's the exact gear that you need. Food and water. So the hike will take 4 to 6 hours. And then if you look at the maps, it's going to show that there's no close water sources en route. So that means like if you're banking on a stream or something to filter water, it's obviously not going to be there. So you have to take all the water that you need for the entire hike. And so that's typically 2 to 3 liters for that duration of time. You don't need any more than that, I don't think. Otherwise, it'll just be too much weight in your pack. I forgot what I was going to say here, but anyway, so you and then based on the hiking time, you're going to burn about 800 calories per hour. So make sure you eat beforehand, and that will actually minimize the altitude sickness, and also drink beforehand. And what I typically eat, I have 1 cup of coffee, I have mixed nuts, I bring a hard-boiled egg, avocado, Lara bars, and just a mix of other healthier type snacks with me. So, in reality, for a hike like Quandary, you really need minimum amount of gear. Just your basic backpack. And Charlene, your new Osprey will be perfect on this hike, and some water and food. So it's really pretty simple, this type of hike. So, okay. And then step 11, I just kind of added this, pick your partner. I wouldn't suggest hiking with a random group. First 6 months, I always encourage partners. It sounds like some people have found a couple people to hike with so far, which is great. You want to make sure they have similar interests, similar comfort zone as you, similar fitness level. You guys go at the same pace, and similar goals and motivation. And then after 6 months, start going with faster people that will challenge you. And there's nothing wrong with going solo. And just note that most 14ers have a lot of people on them. So you're going to be able to at least know that there's people around. So at worst case scenario, if you have to go solo, unless you're going super, super early in the morning, there will definitely be people there. So those are the 11 steps to how I plan a hike anyway. So are there any questions?
What kind of things do you do when you run into like I ran into that rattlesnake this last weekend? Like, have you ran into really big animals, and what do you do?
Oh yeah, okay. So animals.
Big animals, but...
Yeah, actually, all right. So in terms of rattlesnakes, you just kind of let them be, and you can so that they can strike 2/3 of their body length. So if it's a 3 foot, yeah. So you got to stay back from them. If they're persistent in the trail and you can't get around them, either turn around or toss rocks next to them. They should move. Don't hit them, obviously, but if you toss something at them or like a stick or something, they should slither away. In terms of other animals that would actually get you on the trail, there's really none. So there's mountain lions that exist out in the high country, but they won't bother you. There's bears out there, but they won't bother either. So I've never taken bear spray or anything with me. And then the other thing are like mountain goats, and those could be potentially dangerous if they're with their kids. But I've never personally had an incident with any type of animal in the high country.
So I had the deal with the rattlesnake, and he actually was as long in the picture. He's kind of squirreled up, but he was all the way across the path, and then he started, kind of crunching up, and I thought, oh my God, he's going to jump.
Oh,
2 years ago, I was up in Estes Park on a trail, and this big brown bear started following us, and he must
Really?
have followed us. Oh yeah, and we just kept walking really like faster and faster till we got to the main road. But he didn't do anything because he wasn't on his back legs, but he was really curious about what we were doing. So
interesting.
I have ran into the bears up there anyway.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, so black bears can be different colors, but
Yeah,
there's no grizzlies out here.
No. I think it was a black bear. He was just brown. I think it's just because I'm remembering how panicked we were.
Yeah, that's interesting. The only time I've ever actually seen a bear, I've crossed paths with a bear once, and in Roxborough State Park, and it just completely ran away from me. Never had anything follow me before. And the only time I've seen a mountain lion is when I was driving up the Longs Peak and one crossed in front of my car.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yep. So any question on like the apps or anything, the weather? Does everybody understand like what, or anybody have any suggestions on any other types of planning activities?
No, I'm good.
No? Okay. All right. So Sherry, unfortunately you're out, and Charlene, you are joining, and Jennifer, you are not, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, so Charlene, we'll have to see, what the weather does. We'll try for it, and we need to just make the decision to turn around if we need to. So.
Do you think there would be any, as far as watching the weather, anything that would say, okay, you know what, we just need to do it a different time, different day or something?
I couldn't really hear you. Could you say that one more time?
I was just saying, is it going to be like with watching the weather, it might be that, if it stays the same or starts looking worse, that you'd say, okay, you know what, we just need to reschedule it?
Yeah, if it gets any worse than what it looks like now, I mean, there's no reason to drive out there, right? So I will definitely monitor that, and I will let everybody know probably tomorrow night or Friday morning.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe we could try. Sunday actually looks a little bit better, so maybe we can try it for Sunday.
Okay.
It's just really, it's really bad timing because typically you do see those storms in the afternoon, not so early. So right. It's very, very strange. So I keep monitoring. I check just about, a couple times a day basically for weather.
Okay.
So, yep. All right. Well, hopefully this helped you a little bit. If you have any follow-up questions, let me know for sure. And we'll talk to you real soon.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks.